Okay, heidi ho YouTubers, we're back with part 2 of our beef stew project for SHTF Beef Stew. We're going to can it up today. I have to admit I've already done processed several loads, and I'm down to my last jar. So I thought I would just go over some of the basics. There are an awful lot of good videos out there. My good friends over at Homestead Acres have done some great videos on canning. And I'm just going to go over some of the important stuff, and that way I won't bore you too much. First things first, get yourself one of these. Ball, Blue Book, or I don't know, other parts of the world. This is, in the U.S. and other parts of the world, there may be other volumes like it, but this is the Bible. And it's going to tell you good recipes for just hundreds and hundreds of different things, and more importantly, it's going to tell you the stuff you need to know, like how long to process and the headspace. And I don't know, this one's several years old, but on page 5 it gives you a chart for your altitude, and depending upon your altitude above sea level, you're going to have to adjust your processing temperature or pressure to match that. So we'll put that over here because I've already know what's going on. Okay, so keep your jars and lids and rings in a pot of simmering water, not boiling, simmering water. And let me show you why. There's several reasons. This is a canning lid. See if we can see that. Around the outside is that rubber membrane that's attached there. And you want that to be softened up in the warm water to help it seal to the jar better. You want to minimize on any germs that might be on this stuff. And you also want to temper the glass jars to the heat, so that when you put the tremendous heat of a pressure canner on them, or even when you're water bath canning, they're not going to crack going from cold to hot, right? I've already measured out this last quart. I washed an extra jar just for you. When you're doing all your prep work, make sure everything's clean. Wipe down the counters with a little bleach water. Make sure all your jars and lids and everything are clean, and well, we still have power. You can even just run them through the dishwasher. So normally I would have been ladling this out of the pot, but this is the last one we're doing, and I couldn't figure out how to show you with all these big pots sitting around how to do this, so I just don't have enough counter space with the camera. You use a funnel. You can get all these tools in a kit at China Mart that you put on the jar there, and you can ladle out of your pot. I don't know if you can tell if that's even a ladle. And put it in there. This is what's called headspace. The distance from here, the top of your stew or whatever it is you're canning, to the rim of the glass. And you want to make sure that that distance is what the book says, going back to, it's all in there, folks. These things are only about $5 or $6, so pick one up, do please. Okay? In your tool kit that you can buy, and these things aren't too expensive either, these tool kits, is a jar lifter. That's going to help you get the jars in and out of these pots without burning the crud out of your hands. And a lid lifter. Has a little magnet in there. Next step in the process, oh, and that kit also has a little baby spatula. I melted mine, so I had to make a new one out of a bigger spatula. You want to come and go around in here and get all the air pockets out of there, if there are any, around the sides. and that will make sure that you don't have areas that don't get heated well, right? That's also one of the reasons for this headspace distance, because if it's too far, then the top of your food might not get heated up enough to kill the bacteria that's in there. If it's too high, then when you heat this material up, whatever it is you're canning, it might boil over and ruin the seal on that edge, because we're going to seal that rubber membrane down to it. And we don't want any stuff on there to begin with, so you want to take a clean, damp rag. I'm using a paper towel here. And wipe that off real good. Then we're back over to our simmering water. Not boiling, because you don't want to boil that rubber seal out of there. And we've got our lid and our ring. The ring holds the lid down on. Put the lid on first, then the ring. Just snug, finger snug, and into the canner it goes. Read the instructions carefully for your canner. Follow them explicitly. These things are a little bit dangerous. My good YouTube friend Kitten Catton had a tragic accident with a pressure cooker when he was a kid, and he's scared to death of them. Once I get this sealed up, I'm going to turn on the heat. You want to let the steam vent freely out of the petcock for 10 minutes, so that all the air inside of here on top of that water, oh, by the way, you only fill them up a few inches with water. Your cans aren't underwater as if they are in a water bath canner. So, but you want to get all that air out of there so that you don't have pockets that aren't heated up enough. So you let it vent for 10 minutes out of the petcock to do that. Then you can shut her down and set it and get your pressure according to the pressure that's set in the recipe, adjusted for your altitude above sea level. Looking at that chart that's on page 5 I told you about. For beef stew, it's calling for an hour and a half at 10 pounds pressure, with a few pounds added for my altitude. We're a little higher than sea level. And once it's done with an hour and a half at sea level, on a dial gauge canner, you have to watch it fairly carefully, but I know right on this stove where to set it to keep the pressure right where I need it to be. If you have one of the ones with the jiggle weight, they're a little bit easier. If you buy a new canner, look, they're UL listed, and if you treat them with a little respect, they're safe as can be.